Former lawmaker Zaldy Co is now in France, seeking political asylum there. Will the government be able to catch up with him this time? Good morning. I'm Attorney Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. After failing to apprehend him in Prague, the government reports former lawmaker Zaldy Co is now in France, where he has applied for political asylum. Part of efforts to capture him is the government's push for a red notice by the Interpol against Co. Will the government finally get him and bring him back to the country? To answer for flood control anomalies and other cases against him. To answer this and other issues, we'll be speaking with political strategist Lito Banayo. Good morning, Lito.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. A pleasure to be here.
Okay, so let's start with the press con held by Malacanang yesterday, where Palace Press Officer Claire Castro announced that Zaldy Co is in France, citing confirmation by the Foreign Affairs Department. So how can the government know that he's now in France, and yet we ended up sending the acting DOJ secretary along with the Philippine mission to the Czech Republic, to Prague? Where did the lapse in coordination happen?
Well, I suppose there have been a series of lapses. No? To begin with, where did the president get the information that Zaldy Co was apprehended at the border of Germany and the Czech Republic? No? Normally, that should have been he should have been informed by our ambassador in Prague. Our ambassador there is a 30-year, has a long career, diplomatic career, 30 years in office. He's been in Japan, Iran, the Netherlands, even the UN mission in New York. So he knows how these things are done. And normally, being the alter ego of the president in the Czech Republic, he would have been the first to be informed by the Czech officials or authorities that a Filipino was in their custody. So did he relay it to the DFA secretary? And did the DFA secretary relay it to the president? For the president to make that announcement by himself.
Yeah.
No? Normally, that should have been, the protocol should have been the DFA secretary, no, in this case. So that's the first thing. Who informed the president? Was it the ambassador or somebody else? Second, the ambassador should have known, under normal circumstances, whether under the laws of the Czech Republic, someone apprehended for having irregular passport or travel documents, how long he can be detained, no? So why did we have to send the DOJ secretary to begin with?
You preempted my next question. Yun, bakit nga? You're a former ambassador yourself.
Yeah.
So in this case, we ended up sending the DOJ acting secretary and a Philippine mission.
Yes.
Only to have a press con later for them to say that the Czech authorities refused to provide further information on the status of Zaldy Co or how or why he was released.
Yeah, the data privacy laws in the Czech Republic and practically all of Europe are very strict. And in fact, when the president announced that, I immediately looked at the laws of the Czech Republic, and it really is quite difficult, no? I mean, compared to ours, no? I mean, I remember when I was in Taiwan, for instance, there was a similar incident. Ricardo Ardot Parohinog of the supposed Kuratong Baleleng and drug-dealing family in Osamis City was apprehended in Pingdong, which is the southernmost county of Taiwan, because he had, falsified his identity and had fake fake passport, no? So immediately we were informed by the Taiwanese authorities that there is this Filipino by the name of Ricardo Ardot Parohinog. And siyempre, alam ko naman kung sino yun, no? The brother of Reynaldo Parohinog, who was killed in an encounter with the police early on. This was in 2017. So I called up Malacanang.
You were the ambassador
I was the
for
de facto
Taiwan.
ambassador in Taiwan. So I called up Malacanang and asked to talk to the president himself. And I informed him and said, well, under their laws here, he could be detained because he violated their laws by having a falsified identity and fake travel documents. So I said, would you want me, sir, to expedite the process so that he can be immediately transferred to the Philippines? And he said, no, just follow their laws. After all, he's already detained. That's all right. So that was what happened. So it took about 3 months or more than 2 months before he was eventually repatriated here. The police officers, I forget the name of the arresting officer, came to Taiwan and escorted him back to the Philippines. So ganun dapat ang nangyayari,
So you're saying there was no need to send the DOJ acting secretary first?
Unless he had a special mission from the president, or from whoever, but he's the acting DOJ secretary. Unless there were some instructions other than apprehending him and, getting him apprehended and sent back to the Philippines.
By that, do you mean kausapin si Zaldy Co?
Makausap si Zaldy Co. Pwedeng ganon, I would surmise, Second, Attorney Karen, please take note of the fact that right after the president made that announcement about his apprehension in Czech Republic, 2 days or so later, former Speaker Martin Romualdez came out publicly and said that he was being, in so many words, was alluding to what he suspected to be being thrown under the bus, stemming from the ombudsman's request that he be given a precautionary
whole departure
order. Despite the fact that he had a travel authority from the Speaker of the House to go to Singapore for a medical furlough or medical checkup. So that was where he said na, he's not going to
go down
leave
alone.
Quietly and go down alone. It is possible that he may have reacted to the threat that Zaldy Co would be coming back. And that's where you tie up the presence or the sending the DOJ secretary. Baka sasabihin na pagbalik mo, ituro mo hanggang kay Martin lang, maybe, because remember, and this is another strange thing, when Zaldy Co came out with this series of revelations, he pointed to the president himself, So at that time, what came to my mind was, nagbabalak itong humingi ng political asylum in Europe. At that time, I thought it was Portugal. We also do not have an extradition treaty. Well, there is no extradition treaty at all in Portugal with any country. So everybody was saying he was in Portugal. But we never really established that fact, despite the fact that we also have an embassy in Portugal. So baka ako sinasadya niyang magsalita ng ganon para meron siyang reason to say when he gets back to the Philippines, his life may be in danger.
So parang
laying the predicate,
laying the predicate for applying for an asylum, which came true because Yusek Claire Castro said that based on information they have, Zaldy Co is now applying for asylum in France.
I would think he applied for asylum even before he went to the Czech Republic. Hindi naman siguro ura-urada na, pagbalik niya from... Kasi, why was he released by the Czech authorities immediately? Because if the problem is the lack of travel documents, of valid travel documents, such as an expired passport yata, yung sabi ni Secretary Vida, what he presented was an expired
Passport,
Hindi naman ganun katanga si,
Oo nga, naisip
si
ko rin
Zaldy
yung bakit
para
niya ginamit yun.
gagamitin yung expired ano. Unless, well, we don't know what his business was in the Czech Republic, no? Baka may property siya doon, for all we know.
Yeah. But
no?
interesting, no? All of this just gives rise to more questions rather
more
than any
questions.
answers. Well, according to Jose Castro, President Bongbong Marcos will meet with ambassadors of France and Czech Republic later this afternoon. And they are expected to discuss possible lapses that enabled Zaldy Co to evade Philippine authorities in Prague and how to bring him back from France. With France not being among the countries that the Philippines has an extradition treaty with, what do you think would be possibilities or other types of methods to bring him back to the Philippines?
Well, talking to the ambassadors of the Czech Republic, and in this case, more France, because tapos na yung episode sa Czechia, no? So it's now France. Would probably be some kind of diplomatic move on the part of the president or the DFA secretary to get them to cooperate in transferring or rather surrendering this guy Zaldy Co to the Philippine authorities. No? But then again, one has to remember that this goes, the petition for a political asylum goes to the judicial system of France. And as far as I know, the judicial, the separation of powers in France and in most European countries is very strict. The president, even President Emmanuel Macron, would not dare talk to the judge or the court, whoever is the court official handling the petition for political asylum to, hoy, balik mo na sa Pilipinas and deny the political asylum. No? In the same way that, Harry Roque is still in Vienna, no, with a petition for political asylum. And unless it is rejected, he will stay in Vienna for...
But speaking of Harry Roque was quick to refute President Bongbong Marcos's statement that Zaldy Co was either arrested or apprehended sa Czech Republic, sa Prague. Do you think that Harry Co was right before when he said that Zaldy Co was never arrested in Prague?
Possibly, because from what I've heard, he was detained, or rather, he was restrained of liberty.
That's what the DOJ
for
said
only
later
48 hours or 2 days. And 2 days after, April 16 siya na apprehend. April 18, he was free to go wherever he wanted, no? And so he probably went to Paris. We don't know, or he's back in Portugal, wherever he is. We really do not know at this point in time, no? But these are strange. No?
Strange talaga kasi walang clarity sa publiko. But speaking of strange, yun din yung strange because, again, everyone got excited when the president himself made the announcement that Zaldy Co was, I think the word used was apprehended in Prague or held in custody. Well, now I'm being careful kung arrested ba yung gagamitin, but for a long time, everyone was using the word arrested according to President Bongbong Marcos, supposedly. But days after that, the DOJ clarified and softened that language, and they said that this was merely an intervention by the Czech Republic, and the term arrest only applies when a country has jurisdiction over an individual. And by Friday last week, Malacanang said that there was no contradiction between the statements of the President and DOJ. But for me, the fact that you have to clarify na walang contradiction means that in the minds of a lot of people, may contradiction. So,
Cavaliers of the PMA would call this quibbling.
Quibbling ba?
Quibbling. That's the term that the military often use for excuses given, no? But something else strikes me as very strange. No? According to the DOJ acting secretary, we applied for an Interpol Red Notice, with the Interpol, for a Red Notice to be spread out in order to be able to apprehend Zaldy Co in November. I think November 25 or 24 was the date. And it has not been granted up to now. So there was no reason for the Czech authorities also to hold him because there was no red notice.
Yes, and I remember Secretary Vida also mentioned that the Czech authorities pointed to the lack of an Interpol Red Notice or an international warrant of arrest.
Yeah, there was no international warrant. There was no red notice from Interpol. So I can only put one and two together. Ginamit kasi natin ang Interpol recklessly when we made Interpol. We said that we were following Interpol and not the ICC when we surrendered former President Rodrigo Duterte to the Hague, to the ICC, no? So parang if you're in the Interpol, you'd be very careful about this because the arrest of President Duterte was international news, no? It was big all over Europe and all over the world for that matter. Now here comes this another fugitive of Philippine justice called Zaldy Co. You'd be very careful before you give a red notice, no? That's why they're saying they submitted documents, they were asked to submit more documents. It shouldn't normally, if it was a case of graft and corruption, plunder for that matter, it shouldn't normally take
so you're saying
so many, 5 months na.
Mukhang nag-iingat na ang Interpol when it comes to the Philippines because of what happened
to Duterte.
With the way the Interpol was used.
Yeah, kasi sinabi, we're following Interpol, not ICC, di ba?
Yeah. But it turned out that time that there was no Interpol Red Notice, but only a
diffusion request from the ICC to, just to determine his whereabouts. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, so just yesterday, DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla apologized for his earlier statement that Co could be deported back to the Philippines in 1 to 3 weeks from the time that he was allegedly detained in the Czech Republic. So this seems to compound the government's blunder surrounding Zaldy Co. How can the president better handle this matter? But before you answer this question, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront, and we continue our conversation with political strategist Lito Banayo. Lito, yesterday, DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla publicly apologized for his earlier statement that Zaldy Co could be deported back to the Philippines in 1 to 3 weeks following his alleged detention in the Czech Republic. This seems to compound the government's blunder surrounding the apprehension of Zaldy Co. What could the president do differently or better to manage the situation?
Frankly, I think he should tell the public the truth about where he got the information that Zaldy Co was detained or restrained of liberty, as the DOJ wants to put it, no? And why he was there. Without that, the mystery is still there, no? I can understand John Vic Remulla's statement because he thought it was an ordinary, immigration problem, no? They caught you without travel documentation, and under normal circumstances, you're repatriated back to your country. Ganun naman kasimple talaga yan, no?
Di ba yun nga yung sabi nila when they canceled the passport of Zaldy Co, he'll be a stateless person so that he'll be deported back pagka...
The fact that his passport was canceled also begs the question because nakuha ba nila yung passport at tinatakan nila ng canceled? Or in-staple, they punched holes into it to say that it is no longer valid? And hindi naman nila nahuli si Zaldy Co before this, no? If he was using yung diplomatic passport, no? For what I know, unless you're really a diplomat or you're a high-level official of the DFA, official and diplomatic passports are given every time you travel.
Yeah.
Pinavalidate yan ng DFA. No? For instance, like I was sent to Geneva to negotiate with the World Trade Organization before, may nakalagay doon na binigyan ka ng, and then you the next time you travel for another official, then they place also the reason for it, no? Now, if his passport was expired naman, yung old passport niya, meron naman siyang renewed passport na di ba? Up to 2032 yata. No? Bakit hindi yun ang pinakita niya? No? Sabi nila, because yun yung canceled.
Yeah.
But how would the Czech authorities know it was canceled?
Hindi ba lumalabas yun sa computer
Hindi.
when you go through the immigration?
Yun na nga, that's another thing. No? Bakit in a land border? I mean, I've been to...
Yeah.
I've been there
around EU, you
four
don't
times.
need to,
No? Twice
to go
by
through
air
immigration.
and twice by air if I'm not mistaken, and twice by land. Yung land wala namang ini-inspect na passport. Once I went through from Vienna to Prague, and then once again from Berlin to Prague, no? So 2 countries yung border. So 3 countries yung borders. Wala naman nagche-check eh. No?
So moving forward, should the president create like a special task force? Paano niya ba gagawin mas efficient ito? Considering what has happened in the past few weeks.
How did it happen at all? How for that matter, was it possible for Zaldy Co, who's been there since, who's been wherever else in the world for what, 15 months, 16 months? Di ba? Ang tagal-tagal na eh.
So,
bakit hindi matrack? Lahat naman yan meron tayong embassies.
Kasi kahapon nga when they announced that he was able to evade apprehension again and that he was able to apply for asylum, parang ang galing niyang mag-evade ng arrest si Zaldy Co. Para siyang Jason Bourne.
Parang Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne talaga. But do you think someone's helping him?
I suppose so. With all his money. I mean, not to cast aspersions on whoever, no. But with all his money, I think he has connections, no. Both with Philippine authorities and probably has very good international lawyers in his employ.
International lawyers, hindi lang dito. Yeah, I suppose that's one way that he's able to navigate all of these in Europe pa, no?
Yeah, I think the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, as well as the Justice Committee in the Senate, should initiate an inquiry into this. No?
Another inquiry.
Yeah, another inquiry, no?
Kasi sa mga tao, pagod na rin. Pag inquiry na naman, tapos walang mangyayari. But if it can answer questions, that would indeed be helpful. And so that the government can also improve kung nasan ba yung mga gaps. Because Atong Ang is another case of someone that we have not heard from the government as to ano na yung status sa paghahanap nila kay.
Whether he's still here or outside, we do not know. No?
So let's shift to another topic. We'll wait for what happens later with the meeting of the president dun sa ambassadors of France and the Czech Republic. But the impeachment, the hearing of the House Justice Committee today is supposed to be the last among the House Justice Committee hearings in determining probable cause. What do you expect will happen today?
I think they will vote. I mean, the Justice Committee with its 70 members or so will vote to draft the articles of impeachment and submit it to the plenary. May 11 yata ang reopening ng Congress or first or second week of May, no? So they will send it to the plenary for to be able to get the 1/3 number of votes, no, to send it to the Senate for trial.
Yeah, and it seems that they will have enough votes. How soon do you think this will reach the Senate? Or do you have a different opinion? Will they have a hard time getting the sufficient number of votes for this to go to Senate?
Well, if Malacanang, in the same way that they did under the leadership of Martin Romualdez, then, no, if Malacanang dangles enough freebies, enough pork barrel enticements, they should be able to get the required 106 signatures to the articles of impeachment.
Do you think that when it comes to the Senate, there are sufficient votes now to impeach Vice President Sara after allegations against VP Sara, including her family, came out in last week's hearing related to bank transactions and the SAL-ins of VP Sara?
Well, 2 things. No? One is, as a political trial, no? With this, I mean, the impeachment being both legal and political, on the political side, it will be very difficult to get 16 votes to convict. No? On the legal side, you may get the Supreme Court may again step in because very clearly to most lawyers I have talked to, there were transgressions on the part of the Committee on Justice regarding, for instance, the AMLAC or AMLC giving out the transaction documents or the transaction numbers, figures of from 2005, I think, or 2006, when she was not yet an impeachable officer, from 2006 to 2022. Di ba? I mean, walang pakialam dun di ba? And if you look at the numbers, those transaction figures were big or bigger during the time she was not yet an impeachable officer. So these are things that the Supreme Court may weigh and may also, assuming the Supreme Court does not intervene this time, I'm sure the senators will find the reason to cast aside so many of those documentary evidence, even the testimonial evidences that were brought before the Justice Committee.
Okay, thank you so much, Lito Banayo, and it's going to be exciting to see if we'll finally get answers, especially on Zaldy Co.
Yeah, very, very exciting times for the country, but unfortunately also very difficult times for the rest of the population. The WTI index for oil went up to more than $100 yesterday. Brent crude went up to $112. And the last bidding for fertilizers, the urea fertilizer, international bidding went up to $1,000 per ton. $1,000 is 20 bags of fertilizers. That means if the cost of, and I'm talking retail, the retail price of fertilizer now is about 2,300. The wholesale price, the landed cost, will be 3,000 pesos per bag.
So in short, you're saying tataas na naman presyo ng fuel at ng mga bilihin.
And we're going to have problems with agriculture. Terrible problems with agriculture.
Okay, and we'll talk about that some other time. Thank you so much, Lito Banayo.
Always a pleasure, Attorney Karen.
The search for Zaldy Co has now spanned several countries, from Portugal to Prague to Paris. This exposes not just the complexity of international law enforcement, but also the consequences of missteps, mixed messaging, and missed opportunities. As questions mount, the real test for the government is no longer just about bringing one man home. It's about restoring credibility. In the end, accountability cannot be elusive, and the truth, no matter how delayed, must catch up. Be informed, be insightful of the news. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Always stay at the forefront.